People, the Lore Reloaded here, just as you always love to see me. I'm here every Sunday, every Wednesday, and every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard to 9 p.m. Central Standard, here for your entertainment. Now, while I'm waiting for this to update and for people to come in and see what's going on, just going to get some of the disclosures out of there. Hey, if you're not following me, definitively follow me on twitter.com/lore reloaded, as well as facebook.com/lore reloaded. In fact, if you want to help me decide what kind of tattoo I am going to be getting, I would definitively both go and subscribe or follow me there, as well as take a look at my community tab if you haven't already. Going to be lots of places to vote and help me figure that out. Going to be a lot of fun. But while we are getting into it today, this episode, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Rebels, the very first two episodes. And I know I'm late to the party on this. Been getting a lot of other things set up and prepared and ready and just putting videos together. It takes forever to do that. So that's why I'm finally actually getting to this. AJ Zulu, what you doing? Good evening to you as well. And so I have been watching the entire series of Star Wars Rebels. I've watched all three seasons, finally starting to watch season 4. And when it comes to this show, I was talking about it. Yeah, it is actually. It's good to catch you live. I'm glad that you're actually here as well. I said it in the other show, and I'll say it in this one. This show has not matured as well as Clone Wars, in my opinion. In Clone Wars, when it first started out, a lot of people called it horrible or horrific. With good cause. I hated Ahsoka. I didn't like it that well. I hated the movie. But as it progressed, it started getting better and better and better. And Rebels started out that way and was moving in the right direction. I think they still are moving in the right direction. And in fact, I wonder if it's not done on purpose, because you see this in the original trilogy as well, where Luke starts out as a kid and he matures and he matures and he he really comes into his own in the last movie. So, and even when you watch how Luke dressed, he started out white, then he went to gray, then he went to black. It's very interesting, and I think they do that on purpose. It starts out really kiddie, and it matures as it goes on. But Clone Wars itself hasn't really... I don't think they progressed as much as they should, especially for the last season. 14K Liam, how you doing? Well, I mean, if you're having family problems, dude, then I understand that. Nothing wrong. The way to fix those family problems is whoever's in your family that you're having problems with, have them watch this show. Fixes everything right up. But yeah, I hope you get to feeling better, man. I can understand if stuff's going on. Whatever. We just like to hang out. But so I watched the first two episodes, and it was... Again, it was felt more like a children's show than what we matured in Clone Wars. Of course, you have the Mandalorian Civil War, which I think is a great arc, honestly. And I was worried that they were going to get rid of Sabine. Man, I hate that I can't say names right. They were going to get rid of Sabine when they did this. I do like the fact that they may go for it. At least at the time, it felt like they were going to go for it. That she was going to be on Mandalore, either leading them or helping them with the Civil War, and doing what she had to do. And then you would see some conflict between Mandalore and the Rebels. So I liked that they were trying to go that route, or it looked like they were going that route. But I hated that we may be losing Sabine. The build up to that was excellent. And of course, then they have to go and save her father, which makes a lot of sense. That's where they left off with it. And that is the entire first episode, effectively, is attempting to save her father. So the show itself was, as I said, there wasn't really a lot to it to necessarily talk about. Again, all of it was just the foils and foibles, if you will, of attempting to save Sabine's father. And the house I was at had no Wi-Fi. Well, get the house Wi-Fi. That's the fix to that. But really, I think it started moving when it gets to the second episode, when it goes to part 2. The really only thing of note on the first episode was the fact that um, the ending where you have Sabine and her father arguing, and they're arguing about how her drawing style and how she got it from earlier Mandalores and things like that. That honestly doesn't do it for me. That's what I say when I say it's in a kid's show. When you look at Clone Wars, the ending episodes they had, you had the clones attempting to figure out what was going on, that they had a chip in their head. You had Ahsoka leaving the Order. You had a lot of darker themes that were very, very interesting. And in the ending of Rebels, you have Sabine and her father arguing about her being an artist. Yeah, no, it was Sabine and her father arguing about her being an artist. And that was just... It was just something I didn't enjoy, something I found to not be the themes like we've seen in Clone Wars. It was a fine episode. I didn't hate it. It just didn't... It was just meh for me. 14 Kalium. Yeah, me and my sis was sick and didn't want to be alone as the big brother. Well, you understand. Yeah. Tell her I hope she feels better. I definitely understand that, especially if you don't need to be here right now because you got to take care of her. I completely get it. But, yeah, said her father or her mother. No, it was definitively her father. They actually saved her father. Spoilers for those who are watching. They definitively saved her father, but then they started arguing. At the end, I did like the fact that they left it on a little bit of a cliffhanger where she gets in contact with her mother, and it seems like her mother may have been killed by some kind of Imperial weapon. And so that ends that. And again, there wasn't a lot to the first episode. I think it was just trying to get you back into the wing of things. But the second episode, it does pick up a little bit more. Someone else was saying when I was talking about it that I thought it was more childlike. They said it had darker themes. And I almost got pretty excited at the beginning of the first episode because they did make it seem like her mom and her brother had been killed by a weapon she had designed. And that would have been extremely dark, in my opinion, and very interesting for the character had that happened. Of course, that didn't happen. They survived because it's Disney, and that's what Disney does, even though they didn't do it with Clone Wars. I do like the fact that they're building off the fact that she was an Imperial. What's going on, Mason Herman? Hope you doing well in the house. That is one thing I think they stay consistent with and do well with continuity, is that Sabine being in the military, being in the Imperial machine, and building all these things for them, and finally it's coming back to roost. Now, apparently what she did is she built this weapon that can basically kill Mandalorians, and that's what it's built to do. It specifically targets their armor, and as everyone knows, the Mandalorians and their armor have a very big and huge history, and they're one of the things about them that makes them tough adversaries is their armor. And she's basically made it so the armor is now a liability. And I think it's really cool that they explore that, though her reasoning for why she made it doesn't make a ton of sense for me. She was talking about how she was young and stupid and she wanted the challenge. But, trying to put you in that frame of mind, you have a 20-something kid who wanted the challenge of finding out how to kill her own people. I mean, seems odd to me. I guess maybe for the challenge, but to actually build it, I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird to me. But I'm willing to just really ignore that for the most part, because I do like the fact that we're having at least this more in-depth and more mature kind of issues. She was stupid. I agree, AJ Zula. Mr. Pete 8680, what's up? How you doing? So then they bring in the other character, and I want to say, I don't know if she was in the first episode or not, which is crazy because I've watched it today. Oh man, Satine's sister was in it. Oh yeah, Bo-Katan Kryze. Yeah, Bo-Katan. So Bo-Katan's in it. I like her for the most part in this, though. Again, I don't know if the right word's campy, but it's all somewhat convenient, right? So you have the Duchess's sister, Satine's sister, Bo-Katan is a part of it, which I think is cool. I love that she came from the Clone Wars and now she's in the Rebels. I think that's really cool. I think it's cool she's in the Mandalorian Civil War and that she's helping out Sabine. But as soon as she gets there, Sabine just offers her the Darksaber, which I don't know that I would necessarily agree with. But even after offering it, Bo-Katan is like, I had my chance and I lost it and yada yada. It's just that trope, which was annoying. I don't know that she should have immediately offered it, if you ask me, but it is what it is. So I like the fact that, you know, at least they're bringing all of these elements together and you have all of the clans coming together and fighting the Empire. And they continue the theme with the rebellion not really wanting to help the Mandalorians, which I really am. Mon Mothma and even Hera are kind of grating on me for that, because I get where they're coming from, and I've seen the third episode, which we'll do another show on, but I get the explanation of why they can't help any one specific planet, right? That makes sense. But still, I mean, she's turning down these people who are warriors, ingrained warriors that are hard to kill. You would think that would put them more on top of the list, but the rebellion doesn't want to help anybody. I'm almost surprised that they won, because anytime anybody calls out for help, the rebellion or Mon Mothma says no. I mean, you know, you got Mandalore, they're not willing to help. You got the planet Ezra came from. It's just, you know, again, I don't know how the rebellion at any point wins based on the philosophies that they've had at this juncture. And you really want to agree with Saw Gerrera, to be quite honest with you. He makes a lot of sense. I can see why he, at the end, when you see him in the movie, where he's done with the rebellion, that the rebellion has done nothing for anyone. He makes a lot of good points, especially if the rebellion is not willing to help anybody. So you continue on with the fact that they found out this weapon. They found that Sabine had created the weapon. And so now she's hated by the Mandalorians. What's going on, Springtime? What about the Wookiees in Aftermath? They did help the Wookiees. That's true. I stand corrected. Name is Andre, and one referenced in a previous video end, one of the Patreon supporters. I know who you are, AJ Zulu. I know exactly who you are. But anyway, so they set that up good, and you know, I guess it makes sense, the mob mentality. One of the things I don't like about Rebels that I wish they would do is that they need to make it an hour long. They have great concepts. Even though I do think it's somewhat of a children's show, they have just wonderful concepts that they need to build upon. Everything is so rushed to me because they can't build upon it. They got to do it in 30 minutes or less, and not even really 30 minutes. Got to be, because you got to have commercials, right? And I don't think they have enough time to really explore all of this, because you have this perfect premise where Sabine has created a weapon. She created it in her youth when she was quote-unquote stupid. Again, I kind of question that, but let's just go with it. She was quote-unquote stupid. She creates it in her youth, and then she now has to go through and defeat the weapon that could kill her entire planet, her clan, everyone she's ever loved could be killed by the weapon that she created. That's, while getting there is a little weird, the story writing could use a little tweaking. That's a good story. That's a really good story. But they have to rush through it. So she moves forward, and you know, everybody's jeering her, and of course the leaders stand up. Bo-Katan, I think it was great when Bo-Katan stands up. It was great when her mother stands up for her. And then there was just a great scene with her mother, and I forget who she was talking to, but I think it was really well done, because Sabine and her mother have not gotten along. If you've watched it, you know that's true. And her mother, in my opinion, is a traitor who who came around, but I still think that she's a traitor to a degree. And, while talking, someone asked, it's like, so now you like your daughter. Now you're standing up for her. You like her as much as I do. And she says, this is me paraphrasing, but she says something that seemed really realistic to me. And this is what I wish they had more of in the show. She says, I can understand why people are mad at her about this. I am too. It's understandable you'd be mad if someone built something that would kill your entire civilization. But she's the hero we need. She's the only one that can stop this. And she made a mistake in her youth, but now she's going to fix it. And she's the real leader. She's the leader that may actually save Mandalore. So she wasn't a trope. She wasn't, oh, let's just get behind her. She was, hey, people are justifiably mad at her for doing this, but we got to get it taken care of, which I thought was legitimate, was cool, made it more realistic. But again, because they're on 22 minutes, as you said, 22 minutes to get this all done. So we can't, think about ideas. We can't do anything specific. We got to keep going. So they rush the base where they think the mega weapon is. And the back and forth between the Mandalorians I really enjoyed. And the overall attack I think was very interesting. Though I don't see how they didn't see it coming when they rush in. Oh, and by the way, so let's talk about that for a second. I thought that was a little unrealistic too. You're telling me we have this mega weapon that Thrawn knows about, and they only have the prototype in the computer on planet, and they only have one of them on the planet itself. Once they destroy this, it's gone. No one can ever make it again. You're telling me they didn't make copies that's sitting with Thrawn or sitting in some secure location somewhere. They just kept it on planet. Really. But anyway, we'll keep going with that. So they get to the machine, and they go to destroy it. And, of course, it's activated. And she's, of course, taken out. Now, how did you not see that coming? I get, they had this entire piece on it, how our armor is our destiny. Just like Star Trek, the Bird of Prey. No prototype. No prototype, no plans, no backup plan, right? No prototype, no backups, whatever the trope's called. And so I get your armor is everything, that it's a part of your clan and whatnot, but I think you could not have it for one mission, just one mission, so that if it is activated, you're not killed. But it's activated, she's knocked out, right? And of course, she tricks the bad guy. He tells her she needs to fix it now. He takes her at her word that she's not going to reverse it and make it attack the stormtroopers. And so obviously she does the turnaround where she knocks all of them down, right? And all of the stormtroopers are dazed. And she wants to continue on and actually kill them. And is stopped by Bo-Katan. Yeah, you didn't even need the source. You didn't even need the Force to see that coming. I completely agree. So, she's about to sit there and kill him, and Bo-Katan stops her, obviously. And ultimately, it ends with her putting a sword through it, causing it to explode. And, Bobby's your aunt and Mike's your uncle, or however they say. It's destroyed. They've destroyed the prototype. They've destroyed the plans. They're never going to be able to do it again. And they escape, and everybody's free and lives happy. And then it ends with her giving the Darksaber to Bo-Katan so she can rejoin the rebels. And here's another thing where I think that is a very fairy tale ending, a very childlike ending versus the more mature. Bob's your uncle. Don't correct me. I liked my version better. It's a very fairy tale ending and not a very mature ending. If this was Clone Wars, I feel like she probably, and you can see it in Clone Wars with Mandalore, she would have stayed there and helped fight until Mandalore was free. But basically what they did is they gave you Bo-Katan, which everyone knows from Clone Wars, and then sat there and allowed her to go back. And, Mandalore's is going to be just fine because now you got Bo-Katan, even though the Empire is going to come and crush them like it's no tomorrow. She left her people to die. Of course, that's not the way they're going to phrase it. That's not the way they're going to try to put it. But she left her people there to die, and I think that was unrealistic. I think it should have ended with her staying on Mandalore and leaving the rebel team. I don't want Sabine to leave the rebel team, but if the rebellion's not going to help and Mandalore is still in trouble, I don't see why she would leave. That just makes no sense to me. Now, yeah, I mean they could orbital bombardment, they could do all kinds of things. What's going on, Daniel Bardazon? Not a lot. Sitting here talking about Star Wars Rebels. Welcome to the show. But yeah, they could just sit there and do all kinds of things. And I don't know, especially since she is this apparent genius that can create this weapon that can attack specific types of armor. I don't know why she wouldn't sit back and help Mandalore. Now, I know I kind of rushed through that a little bit. Because, again, there wasn't necessarily a lot to go through, especially when you're considering how simplistic these shows are, if I'm being honest with you. But I also went through a little bit faster just because I wanted to get your guys' feedback and what your thoughts are on the show itself. I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong. But it feels rushed. And it feels like they're not really able to deliver, and people are still villains of the week. And that's one of the things I hated, and it's still going through now. One of the things I remember they started talking about when Rebels came out is that when you fight a villain, when you fight a specific villain, there's going to be consequences. That has never happened, and every time they put a villain up there, it becomes a villain of the week or a villain of the week over an arc. They have defeated Darth Vader. They have defeated Moff Tarkin. They have defeated Thrawn. These are people who can't be defeated so easily. And they've been able to outdo them. And it hurts the show, in my opinion. And I'm wondering what you guys think about that, if you think it's going to continue to do that. Now, if you've seen the entire series, or you've seen the series all the way up to what's released, then you know what's going to happen more than me. But I worry that it's just continuing villain of the week, that we're not going to get a lot of maturity to it. And I'm concerned because they have to do something with Ezra and Kanan, right? Or Kanan. They have to do something with Kanan and Ezra. I don't think you have to kill them off. I do think that you could, in theory, maybe, while the trilogy is happening, I think Kanan and Ezra could be working for the rebellion in the background, working at other places, and being a part of the battle. I don't think you have to kill them off, but if they're going to do something, if they want to get them out of the way in a meaningful way, then they have to do something with them. They have to either kill them off, or they have to explain why they wouldn't be there to help out Luke, especially Kanan, who is a Jedi Knight at this point. I know he hasn't had the training, quote unquote, but through Yoda and through all of the trials and things he's been through, he's basically a Jedi Knight, right? Springtime says Black Ops. I could actually buy that. I think that if they sent him off, that'd be interesting. But we do know that Hera was at the battle of I did a video on it. It was in the Off movie where they got the plans for the Death Star. Hera was a part of that. She was in that. So was Ezra and Kanan with them there? Because and you even see the ghost there. So if the ship is there and Kanan's there and Darth Vader arrives, that's a big deal, right? And Darth Vader would obviously, at some point, get their attention. I don't know why Darth Vader would go after. Well, I guess because they have the plans. Maybe that's more important than a Jedi. But if he sensed Kanan, I think that would have changed how it happened. And Mr. Pete 8680 is about to do some spoilers, so definitely don't be watching if you don't want to watch that. And what do you guys think? show is a bit kiddie, but Mon Mothma did say that the rebellion couldn't stand toe to toe with the imps in a straight up fight, like what happened at Adelon. By the way, I've done a breakdown at the Battle of Adelon. It was before, it was a while back, so it's not my best work, but you guys should check it out if you want to. It was Scarif, the Battle of Scarif, yes. So, show is a bit kiddie. I don't disagree with Mon Mothma's sentiments. So let's get into the next video just a little bit. Let's get into it just a little bit. So Ezra's upset that they're not going to save his planet, right? And he's getting pretty bent out of shape. And I think if he goes to the dark side, that's going to be why. But Mon Mothma pulls him aside and she says, hey, you know, here's your planet. It needs help. Here's my planet. It needs help. Now, and then she does the big system, and she says, now look at all of these systems. There's 30 to 40 systems. All of them need our help. Where do we start? Who do we begin helping out? And that's logical. I like that. But you have to start somewhere. You can't be paralyzed just because of what occurred, right? Just because you don't think you can win. You have to start somewhere. And I get the point. At the Battle of Adelon, she says, you know, when we grouped together, they killed us. That just means you need to do what Saw Gerrera is doing, which is hit and run. And you can't really sit back and worry about civilians. So I know, look, this is going to be unpopular, especially for a kids show. But let's look at what Curis talked about in DS9. So when Kira was helping out the Cardassians to do terrorist attacks to defeat the Dominion, the Cardassians, of course, did not want to attack installations that had other Cardassians working. And she said, hey, if you have Cardassians helping out Dominion people, they're called collaborators. I had to kill a lot of Bajorans I didn't want to kill. But this is how you fight a war. And that's right. Saw Gerrera isn't wrong. You do have to attack assets even if they have civilians. Because I guarantee you the Empire, and I'm sure they do it, as soon as they realize you're not going to call... As soon as they realize you're not going to attack a place that has civilians, every installation will have a civilian there. Every one of them. Not just any civilians, too. They'll be families. And that's exactly what I'm sure the Empire did and is doing during Rebels. I'm not saying it's something you like. I'm not saying that you come out of this being... You know, one of the things I really enjoyed about the attack on Scarif, which was... what was the name of that movie? Man, you know, I'm really popular. For someone who's really popular, I don't remember names very well. I don't know how that occurs. Hey, what was that movie? That Star Wars movie that we went to see? Rogue One? Rogue One. There we go. See, that's why I have a beautiful wife, to tell me what it is. So Rogue One.
That's the only reason you have a beautiful wife?
Yeah, that's the exact. That and you're beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
And you're smart.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. All right, so... in Rogue One, you have them killing their own allies or their own friends. If you remember at the beginning, love you, baby. You going to bed?
Yeah.
All right, good night. So if you remember in Rogue One, at the beginning of it, he's there with another rebel, and they are talking about, the rebel friend is hit. And he's hurt, and he's like, I can't escape with you. And the dude knows that this guy has information, and if the Empire gets him, then, you know, that's going to be very bad. The Empire can't get the information this guy has. So he kills him. He killed an unarmed man. It's something, and I like how towards the end of the movie, you can see how this haunts him. It's not something he wants to do. It's not something he enjoys. It's not who he thought he was going to be. But it's what he had to become to win a war. So that's just what you have to do. Saw Gerrera is not wrong when he's talking about that, right? And so Mon Mothma, I think, is in the wrong in this. And if you're going to choose these planets, I would start, and this is just me, with the planet that has the warriors with armor that is hard to be destroyed. You liberate them, and then you work from that base. But I got off topic there. The episodes are kiddie. Someone said they thought it was better than Clone Wars. I disagree. I really liked Clone Wars. I think Rebels is good. So don't get me wrong. I really like Rebels. The things I'm talking about really just are from a more mature or darker audience. But beyond that, not that bad. Just a couple of things that I think would maybe mature, make it a little bit better. But that's my own general opinion of it, right? And yeah, Springtime continues to bring up how many people are on the ships and everything. And I always found it funny. The numbers on ships in Star Wars have always been ludicrous, especially when you compare it to like Star Trek, right? Just a stupid amount of people. 14,000. Cassian was a child soldier on a separatist world. I did not know that about Cassian. But yeah, so I mean, this one may be a little bit shorter. Next episode we might get a little bit more into, because I think that episode, while we follow Ezra and the crew, I think it's more about what Saw Gerrera believes and where they end up. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure I know where they're going with this, and I'm pretty sure I know how it's going to end too. Hope they might do the show different. I might be pleasantly surprised, but Daniel Bertazon says, next series post Jedi and pre-TFA. That is going to be cool, because I'm tired of prequels. Who's with me? Henry P., what is going on, my friend? Yeah, I mean, I can enjoy that. I like Clone Wars myself. I honestly do. I enjoy the Clone Wars era very well. And Nexus, I think there were a lot more deaths in Clone Wars. I'm not just talking about clone deaths either. Yeah, there was. By far. There was a lot of civilian deaths, too. Even in the cartoon. That's what I'm saying. It really matured. And yeah, have you ever looked at how large a a Star Destroyer is? Like, they can go up to several miles. Like, a Star Destroyer from one side to the other can be miles long. So, when it comes to the way they built, they are very dissimilar with what you see in Trek, for sure. Attack lightly defamed targets, and when they move troops around, you choose another planet's imperial resources, like a TIE Defender factory, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think you really would, if it were me and I was running the rebellion. And I agreed with Mon Mothma. We can't stand toe to toe, and anytime we amass our forces together, we get the living hell beat out of us, which they do. They got the hell beat out of them at Scarif. They got the hell beat out of them at Adelon. They got the hell beat out of them at Endor, honestly. And so when you put these together, a lot of people die. So I agree with that. So let's do what they did in Clone Wars, which is help the populace rebel against the Empire and hit infrastructure. So we can't fight this war on our own, but what we can do is send specialists to planets to help them cause rebellions of their own and have the planets run their own rebellions. And then from there, hit infrastructure where you can. I will say, in the third episode, I was more agreeing with Mon Mothma to listen in than to destroy when it comes to infrastructure, I wouldn't destroy communications if you can listen in. I have to agree with that. Yeah, they got the hell beat out of them at Jakku. There wasn't a place that the rebellion never got the hell beat out of them. See, that's the interesting thing about the rebellion. The rebellion, to my knowledge, never really won battles until after the defeat of the second Death Star. At all. They got every time. Anywhere they went, they lost. Now, they may have made it a Pyrrhic victory for the Empire, or they may have gotten what they needed to accomplish, but they still got the hell beat out of them. Laura, did you ever play Super Star Wars for Super Nintendo back in the 90s? I may have. I don't remember. The Empire built vessels more for intimidation than practicality. One of the reasons the rebels were more effective a fighting force. Yeah, the Tarkin Doctrine, which I still believe exists. Let me see. Super Star Wars for Super Nintendo. The Tarkin Doctrine, which is the fear of force, the fear of overwhelming force versus overwhelming force. Tarkin Doctrine is just effective. It's a good way of doing it. Man, that looks really familiar. I don't know if I've played it or not, though. Let me click on this playthrough while I have you guys here and take a look. Yes, I have in fact actually played this game. Never got far on it, if I'm being honest. But I have beat it. And apparently this dude right here beat it in about an hour. I never did well in the SNES. Most people did, but I never really did. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've played all the games. So moving off topic again, when it comes to SNES, I've played a lot of games on the SNES. Which include the Deep Space Nine game, the Star Wars game, but that was back in the day when they didn't care. They made it as hard as they could and hoped to God that you figured it out. And there was no internet, so I played those games. Never ever got far on them at all. By the way, if you guys are watching this, don't forget to like this video. I only got 6-7 likes. 18 people watching. Every one of you guys need to like. I need to see 18 likes or 18 dislikes. I don't care which one. You make the call. But yeah, so this one's going to be a little bit short because I didn't have a ton to add. I think that the next 2 episodes I'll be doing, I'll have a little bit more because, again, I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of Saw Gerrera. Is he right? Is he wrong? Is Mon Mothma right? Is Mon Mothma wrong? I'll be interested to see what happens to Ezra. My predictions for it is I don't think Ezra's going to go dark side, and I don't think Kanan's going to go dark side. I would be surprised if they killed off Kanan, but I think it's possible. Ezra is going to survive. Ezra is not Snoke, and Ezra stays on the light side. And if Kanan survives, he stays on the light side. Yeah, that's what you have to be. That's what a rebellion is. A rebellion is a terrorist. If you're not a rebellion, if you're not rebelling, then you're in an actual war with actual soldiers. But they can't stand up, they can't fight the Empire at this point. They can't win against the Empire at this point. There's no legitimate authority behind them. They are a rebellion. They are a bunch of terrorists that are attempting to stop the government. Every one of them are terrorists. Saw Gerrera just admits what he is. He even says it. And again, I need to wait for the 3rd episode, but he even says it. Mon Mothma, you and me, we're both criminals. I'm just acting like it. And I don't agree with torture. I don't think torture is effective either. I'm not a soldier, nor am I an intelligence, but I don't think it's effective. So I can see her point on that. But they're criminals. They're terrorists, both of them. One of them is willing to do what it takes to win the war, and one of them wants to stand on ideals that's going to get all of them killed. And I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it. What do I think about the Yuuzhan Vong? I think that they should bring them in at some point, and probably will. I think it would be interesting. I don't think I would be very popular. I don't think that I would be very popular when it comes to my opinion on Luke Skywalker. The American Revolution didn't target civilians, unlike the Rebel Alliance. The American Revolution also had entire armies that could stand toe-to-toe with the British and actually win. So I would say that they were more military than they were rebels. And by that stance, yes, the South was in fact not a quote-unquote rebellion by my definition. 14K Leom says you just get what you want to hear. 14K Leom, I am open. 14K Leom says I think they are sort of both right too. Okay, well hey, if you think I'm wrong, guys, I'll stay on and give it a little bit so that you can talk about it. I am open to conversations about being wrong, but I have to say I agree with more Saw Gerrera than I do with Mon Mothma. Not because I necessarily like Saw Gerrera, not because I necessarily like his methodology. But I do think that if you want to win in the position that they're in, that you have to be a terrorist. That's why the Bajorans were terrorists. That's why the Cardassians were terrorists. That's why. That's why I don't want to take it into real world. I think that you have to be terrorists in their situation to win. Not that you want to be, not that it's a good thing, but if you want to make change, it's the way you have to. Kyle says, I would have liked Maul to have been in this season of Rebels. The story could have been he wants to end his past with Palpatine and hoped Ezra would have joined him. Vader could have killed him. You know, an interesting thing is, what if Maul joins the rebellion, and a part of that is to get Ezra to help him, and then you have that conflict there. I mean, you have Ezra, you have Maul. Maybe he comes under and works with Saw, and then you have that conflict, right? I think that would have been interesting. But I mean, if you guys disagree with me, I'm open to that conversation. I think it's the only way to win a war in the position that they're in. That's just my opinion. Should the Federation become evil? Yes, I guess. If we're talking about Star Trek. Star Trek. But beyond that, I like the episodes. I would say, in my opinion, I don't like doing numbers, and this is not a review channel, quote unquote, but for me personally, if I had to give it, I would say 7 out of 10 for the two. Just because I think they had some solid ideas. They didn't really deliver on them, but it was entertaining, and it did move the story forward, and you had good character development for Sabine. Evil spells live. It does. Evil does spell live. Indeed. God spelled backward is dog. So, I mean, you can take that with you, too. So, I mean, there's those things to worry about. So, yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to have to get off with you. Tomorrow, I will be going and doing the battle breakdown of Sector 001. That's going to be a lot of fun. I got some new fonts, some new cool stuff I'm going to put together. I really think you're going to like it. Ironically, there's really not a lot to the battle itself. A little more than you think there'd be, but for the most part, it's like, let's swarm them. Check this out. At the Battle of Sector 001, how many O-berths? I'm going to give it a second. How many O-berths? Don't look it up. Just guess. How many O-berths do you think were at the Battle of Sector 001? Now, O-berth is specifically designed for science. It has as few weapons as you can have. How many O-berths do you think was at the Battle of Sector 001? 14 Kalium says 3. Mr. Pete 8680 says 1. Springtime says 2. 4. 4 O-berths. 4. So they sent them and they said, hey, you know what? We're getting attacked. O-berths got obliterated before. Let's send 4 of them. And hope to God it all works out. Probably about 20. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. No, it was definitively 4. Now, for the most part, they had just some epic ships there. They came for a fight. This was not your Wolf 359 Federation or Starfleet by any chance. They had some massively powerful ships, but yeah, I looked at that and I was like, wow, 4 O-berth. Someone said, and this was interesting, that they sent the O-berth to gather scientific data to watch the battle. There's no canon for that, and I don't know that I'd buy that, honestly. But if that's so, then I think that having 4 O-berths at Sector 001 just blows that theory out of the water, simply because you don't need 4 ships to observe the battle, especially if it's happening right at Earth. But we'll go over the battle. It's a lot more than people think it is, but there's not really a lot to it. So a lot of it is just going to be me breaking down all of the ships. And I'm going to try to compare and contrast, though I'm not going to bring up the old ships. I'm just going to say, hey, the old ships were here. Let's take a look at these, because these are Dominion War variant ships, and man, did they come for a fight. Though the thing I hate about First Contact is that they didn't listen to their own lore. They didn't listen to their own. They didn't watch Best of Both Worlds. The Borg at Sector 001 in First Contact were not the same as Wolf 359. It's too bad there were not more episodes like Best of Both Worlds. You want to guess why there are no more episodes like that in the next generation? I don't think that they have the audience for that anymore, honestly. But Kyle Statler, keeping it on task. I feel like Maul would have asked for Obi-Wan's help to fight the Emperor, and he would have refused. There still could be a fight, but I don't think Maul had to be killed by Obi-Wan. I agree. I don't necessarily think they should have killed Maul off, and I don't like the way Maul was killed, in my opinion. But it was cool that he did the same move that he did to Obi-Wan's master, and Obi-Wan saw right through it. But yeah, I mean, they killed him off. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll break down. I get to talk about 4 Oberths in the fight. That'll be a fun-filled adventure. Hey, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, guys. Check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. If you haven't yet, become a sponsor. Sponsor's only $4.99 a month, and then I get to make cute emojis that you get to use. Or become a Patreon. If you want me to do a specific series, become a Patreon at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. Either way, just come hang out, watch my videos, and we'll all have a fun time. Guys, I'm going to see you on the next Lore Reloaded. And this is the time where I sit here for a couple of seconds and just talk and look like an idiot so it doesn't cut it off. So I'll say, bye, Daniel. You take care. Bye, Mr. Pete 8680. See ya, 14K Liam. See ya, Daniel. I love looking like an idiot right here. And we're out.